Well, hello, y'all. Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, and welcome to another AMA. This one's all about adapting to a fat metabolism approach and kind of combating hunger signaling, how to know when you're truly fat adapted, if being hungry indicates that you are not yet fat adapted. But before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. All right, so this question is brought to us by Holly, and Holly says, I have been in the process of fat adapting for 9 to 10 weeks using Phinney and Volek's guidelines. I'm a 57-year-old female, 5'6", 175 pounds. I eat between 75 and 90 grams of protein a day, between 140 and 200 grams of fat per day, and 15 to 20 carbs per day, as I am mostly carnivore. I eat a cucumber every day to help feel full and sometimes an avocado. I still don't think that I am fat adapted because I am always hungry. Everyone says going keto you have no hunger, but that has not happened to me. Does this mean I'm still not fat adapted? Otherwise, I feel pretty good, but my hunger is derailing me by causing me to eat more fat and protein than my body needs, and the weight loss has stalled. Any advice? Great question, Holly. Okay, so I did some calculations based off of what your intake is, and on the low end of that, so between like 75 grams of protein, 140 grams of fat, 15 grams of carbs, that equates to about 1,620 calories. I would be super hungry at 1,620 calories as well, so I don't blame you at all for feeling hungry. The truth of the matter is, yes, the ketogenic diet, fat metabolism, eating quality fats and proteins is inherently more satiating than eating a diet predominantly filled with carbohydrates and, especially hyperpalatable processed foods, glucose, sugars, things of that nature, because there's going to be less flux in your blood sugar levels, less demand for circulating blood insulin, and with that, less volatility in your blood sugar levels. So you're going to have less, highs and lows as it pertains to hunger and satiety signaling. However, if you're not consuming enough total calories, enough total fuel, regardless of the diet you're following, you're going to be hungry. So you said that the hunger is derailing me because you eat more fat and protein than your body needs. Well, maybe your body needs more fat and protein. Maybe right now you shouldn't focus so much on weight loss and just simply give your body what it's craving if it's coming from quality fats and proteins. I mean, I don't know how long you've been dieting. I know you said that you've been fat adapting for 9 to 10 weeks, but I don't know what your overall caloric intake was like prior to that. But what I would encourage people to do is when you start a fat adapted, diet, lifestyle, a ketogenic diet, a carnivore diet, I don't typically recommend people start in a deficit because that's going to just make it easier to derail. Consume a maintenance or surplus even of calories coming from those quality fats and proteins exclusively. Let your body, build and upregulate those metabolic pathways to function well with dietary fat and protein, starting to use both stored and dietary fat for fuel. And then once that adaptation process has occurred, you'll be much more likely to adhere to an actual caloric deficit and fat loss phase. You want to give your body the building blocks it needs to stabilize and make that the new norm prior to going into a deficit. So I would not try to underconsume. Figure out what your body needs to be satiated and then eat that coming from quality fats and proteins and then hang out there for a little bit and then transition into a fat loss phase, in which case your body's going to be much more efficient at using fat, both dietary and stored, to lose body fat and lean out a little bit more. I see this a lot of times with competitors too. They'll transition to a ketogenic diet while they're already in a prep for a competition, but it's like they're going to feel terrible. They're not going to make it sustainable because their body doesn't have those metabolic pathways built into place. If you allow those that adaptation process to occur at a maintenance or surplus, it's going to be much more easy to adhere to when you do get into a deficit and your body needs to start tapping into your stored fat for fuel. But I never really recommend doing that at the onset. Like, don't go into the deficit the first time you're doing a ketogenic diet and you haven't yet even fully fat adapted yet. So that would be my advice there. So eat to satiety, track that intake, figure out what that intake is. Maybe rather than 75 grams of protein, it's 125 grams of protein. Maybe rather than 140 grams of fat, it's 200 grams of fat consistently. So yeah, just eat to satiety coming from good quality foods. And honestly, if you're getting it all from good quality foods, you're not likely going to have the guilt associated with consuming at an increased intake. And that will help combat any of the disordered eating tendencies that often come, in periods of eating at a surplus, especially if you're eating, processed junk foods. Like, you feel guilty about it. You feel like you need to go on a diet. You feel like you need to lose weight. You feel like you're, mentally and physically weak. If you're giving your body all that it needs from quality fats and proteins, you shouldn't have that guilt associated with it. You shouldn't feel hungry, and you should just let your body stabilize there. Stay there for a while. Build some muscle if you can. That's going to improve your metabolic rate anyways, and then transition into a fat loss phase once you're already fully fat adapted. So hopefully that answered your question, Holly. You requested some chocolate malt bricks, I believe. Let me double check there. Yeah, chocolate malt. So I'm going to be sending some of those your way. For any of y'all that do not know how these AMA videos work, if you submit me a well-thought-out question via the link in the description below and I use your question on an AMA, I will send you some free keto bricks with a flavor of your choosing. So thank y'all for tuning in. Talk to you next time.